This candid moment taken on January 8, 1983 by John Whitman captures three pillars of Washington society. From left to right, Dru Webster, age 57 at the time, wife of then FBI Director William Webster, satirical columnist Art Buckwald, age 58, in his characteristic cap, and Washington Post publisher Katharine Graham, age 66 at Kathy Kemper's age 32, women at the net tennis event. In the background, Coach Kemper herself and scholar Dick Allen observe the proceedings, part of a larger tapestry of Washington's unique tennis-centered social network. The event featured an impressive roster of players, including Ethel Kennedy, presidential advisor David Gurguhn, age 40, Senator John Heinz, age 44, and Swedish Ambassador Wilhelm Wachtmeister, age 59, all part of what became known as Washington's tennis corridor of power. These weren't mere exhibition matches. They represented the intricate social fabric that helped bind together Washington's elite across political, diplomatic, and media spheres. Coach Kathy Kemper, who began teaching tennis in D.C. in 1978, emerged as a crucial figure in this world. Dubbed Coach to the Nation's Capital, she transformed morning tennis sessions into what would eventually become the Info International Networking Forum, a powerful combination of tennis and policy discussions that drew Washington's most influential figures to the courts. The three central figures in this photo exemplified how tennis transcended mere sport in Washington society. Dru Webster, married to William Webster, who would later become CIA director in 1987, was part of a power couple that understood the value of these informal networks. Art Buckwald, whose satirical columns often playfully skewered these very power structures, found in tennis a way to maintain friendly relationships with his subjects. Katharine Graham, who had transformed the Washington Post into a journalistic powerhouse, recognized tennis courts as an extension of Washington's influential salon culture. The tennis courts, whether at St. Albans School, exclusive clubs, or private residences, became Washington's alternate conference rooms. Here, amid serves and volleys, diplomatic relationships were strengthened, political alliances were formed, and journalists gained invaluable background insights. The games themselves might have been informal, but their impact on Washington's power dynamics was anything but casual. This tennis network played a particularly crucial role for diplomatic relations. Ambassadors like Wilhelm Wachtmeister found that a morning tennis match could accomplish more than formal meetings. The Kennedy family, particularly Ethel Kennedy, age 54, maintained their connection to Washington's power centers partly through these tennis gatherings. David Gurguhn, who served multiple presidents, was known to discuss policy as readily on the tennis court as in the White House. The Women at the Net events, organized by Kemper, held special significance in this landscape. They helped strengthen the role of women in Washington's power structure at a time when many formal institutions remained male-dominated. Graham's presence and participation highlighted how these tennis gatherings could serve as equalizing forces in Washington society. This photo captures more than just a social moment. It documents a unique period in Washington history when tennis served as a vital cultural bridge, connecting different power centers in ways that formal channels couldn't achieve. The friendships formed on these courts, including those between Webster, Buckwald, who continued writing until his death in 2007, and Graham, who led the Post until her death in 2001, helped shape Washington's social and political landscape throughout the 1980s and beyond. These tennis networks blossomed into deep, lasting friendships that extended far beyond Washington's power corridors. Perhaps nowhere was this more evident than in Martha's Vineyard, where many of these same figures would reconnect during summer months. The Vineyard served as an extension of Washington's tennis culture, but in an even more relaxed and intimate setting where families intermingled and friendships deepened across generations. Katharine Graham's presence on the Vineyard, where she owned a home in West Tisbury, helped anchor this community. Art Buckwald, who became a beloved fixture on the island, would often hold court at the Vineyard Tennis Center, just as he did in Washington. These weren't merely political or social connections. They were genuine friendships forged through years of shared experiences both on and off the court. The depth of these relationships was evident in how they supported each other through personal trials and triumphs. When Buckwald faced health challenges later in life, his tennis circle remained steadfast friends, visiting him regularly and maintaining their bonds until his passing. Similarly, Kay Graham's tennis friendships provided crucial personal support throughout her years leading the Washington Post. What made these relationships particularly special was how they transcended the usual boundaries of Washington life. On the tennis courts and later in places like Martha's Vineyard, political differences mattered less than shared experiences and genuine affection. These weren't just networking opportunities, they were the foundation of lifelong friendships that enriched both personal lives and public service. Tennis held a unique position in 1980s Washington that would be difficult to replicate in today's political climate. The sport offered several crucial elements that made it the perfect conduit for power networking. It required sustained interaction over an hour or more, fostered genuine relationships through shared athletic endeavor, and provided a relaxed setting away from official channels and media scrutiny. Unlike formal receptions or congressional gatherings, tennis matches allowed for extended, unstructured conversations and created bonds through shared competition and exercise. The sport's decline as a corridor of power in Washington can be attributed to several factors. The rise of intense political polarization made casual bipartisan socializing increasingly difficult. The 24/7 news cycle and social media eliminated the concept of truly off-the-record conversations. The advent of smartphones meant that any informal gathering could instantly become public knowledge. Additionally, changes in congressional schedules, with members rushing back to their districts each weekend, reduced the time available for social tennis networks to flourish. What's missing in today's Washington is this kind of neutral ground where people from different parties and power centers can interact as players rather than as political opponents. The tennis courts of the 1980s provided something increasingly rare in modern Washington, a space where relationships could develop organically, where rivalries could be friendly rather than bitter, and where the game itself mattered more than partisan politics. This loss of informal networking spaces has contributed to the increasing difficulty in building the personal relationships that once helped drive bipartisan cooperation and diplomatic success. These tennis networks, while less formal than official Washington institutions, proved crucial in facilitating the relationships and conversations that helped drive American policy and media coverage during a transformative era in American history. Their decline marks not just a change in social habits, but a fundamental shift in how Washington's power brokers interact and build the personal trust necessary for effective governance.